It's Rhonda Church Finfrock of Fruitful Life Studio. Welcome to my channel or my page. Today we are going to be stamping and hand painting this 100% cotton t-shirt. It's a lot like the one I have on, but I didn't hand paint this one. I ended up, I used two t-shirts. I had purchased a green t-shirt. I didn't like the color, but I loved these roses that were all over the t-shirt. So I cut some apart, sewed it on my white t-shirt, put some ruffle from that same green t-shirt, and then I over dyed this t-shirt. Well, I'm going to eventually over dye the one I'm going to stamp and hand paint. We're going to be using IOD stamps, and I want to use the Painterly Roses. These are the image, some of the images. So I want to kind of make a little bit of an arch with the roses. I'm going to hand paint them with my new Batik paints after I stamp them. And I'm also going to be making, stamping and painting an applique. I'm making this bee today, and I'll be appliquing it on this shirt, I think, if it all goes well. I'm also going to be adding probably some vintage lace and trims before I over dye it. So let's get started. I have screen printing ink. This is in a beautiful color of fuchsia. Oh, I hope I can get it open. There we go. Let's mix some of that up. I used to use IOD inks for my stamping on fabric, but they fade so much that I played around with some different products. I also was using acrylic paints mixed with textile medium, but my favorite are the screen printing inks. I'm using a fixer. It's by Jacquard, and it just helps it stay more permanent. You don't need it because it is fabric, but it also makes it a bit creamier. Looks like this paint was a little dry, so that's another reason I want to mix it up and put some of that fixer in there. Usually it's a little creamier. I use either Jacquard or Speedball. I think Versatex is the same as Jacquard. Hi, Shalott. Thank you for being here from down under. Must be the morning there, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to roll this onto this palette pad. I want to smooth out that paint. I'm going to keep this live pretty short today, but I just wanted to show you how I use stamping on t-shirts. Now I'm going to start with the largest image, and what I've already done is ironed. I found the center of my t-shirt. So this has been laundered, washed, and dried with no fabric softener. I ironed it down the middle so I would have the center point of my design. And so now I'm just going to roll this and probably give it a couple different coats just to make sure it's really coated well, but not too globby. Somewhere in the middle. Plenty of paint, but not too much where it's messy everywhere. And I'm just gonna plop that down right there. I'm leaving just a little bit of room. Usually when I refashion a t-shirt, I will cut a raw edge here. So it's already got stitching. I will leave that stitching on and just cut off that edging, and it curls all those layers, makes it look really vintagey. I plan to over dye this in a soft tea stain look. So there's that one. And let's try this one. Now Painterly Roses is out. It is retired, but I still have some in my shop. Or you can reach out to your IOD stockist if you have one local. and see if they still have the painterly roses. I always look for the stamps that have a lot of negative space, and that's why I like to use these. I use this little, this is called a Baron, and it's by Speedball. It just helps me press those stamps in there without shifting or moving it around. I like how it's almost looking like a pulled print. Oh, I forgot to get my little bucket of water. Usually I have a bucket of water next to me so that as soon as I'm done with my stamps, I can plop it into that sudsy water. And then I scrub these up with a fingernail brush before I put them away in the envelope. So I'm going to put this here. I'll probably also stamp a couple of extra roses and use them as applique. Oh, I'm seeing all kinds of people. Hi Janice from Shalott. I love you, girl. Haven't connected in a while. Hi Judith. Thanks for being here. And Lauren, hi. Oh, wonderful, Lauren. I'm so happy to see you here. I was lucky enough to get to create all day. I've really been trying to pump up and do some samples for the retreat I'm doing in October, in the middle of October, and it will be in Texas, and it's hosted by Carol Lockwood, but she is starting a new series of retreats where you don't have to be in her paid group, her artist in the making group. It can be anyone. And I feel so honored she's asked me to be the guinea pig for her new retreats, which will be focusing on a certain skill set. So I am going to do everything textiles. So in this retreat, I'm going to be working with paints, all kinds of paints and inks like you see here, with stenciling, stamping, screen printing. I got out my screen prints today and had so much fun reconnecting. I had a vision the other day of what I wanted to do, trying something new. I love playing with product and trying new things. So I got out everything I already had, but decided I was gonna play and try some new things that I had been thinking about, kicking around in my head. So I'm going to be presenting that at the retreat. I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to lay this t-shirt down because now I want to do some extra roses while I'm at it. This is my sock cloth. Here's my piece of t-shirt. So this t-shirt fabric was just, fabric. You can cut up an old one or buy new cotton knit fabric. Usually I just cut up an old one. I make sure it's 100% cotton. Wash it with no fabric softener. And if it's a stained t-shirt, I may dye it. I may just keep it for appliques like I'm doing here. There's never enough room. I want to get close enough so that you can see what's going on, but still have all the supplies I need. It's a balance. So again, I'm just doing some extras for appliquing. Now you won't see that process, but you can cut them out and stitch them on by hand or machine. This looks so much better than my old craggly hands doing this too. If you came on after I started, you might want to go back. I talked about some of the other projects I was doing. So I'm so excited about this retreat and getting to know people a little better. And so even if you're not into refashioning clothing like I am, these are things, what I'm going to be demonstrating and you're going to be using. You can do it with decor, you can do it with tote bags, garden flags. We're gonna all make a beautiful flag, an inspirational flag. You can bring your own project. Our big project will be either refashioning a denim jacket or a flannel shirt or a pair of pants. I'll show you some I did in the group last night. I think that might be enough. Let's just do one more. Let's see, let's do one more of these. Because I might even put some on the back, you never know. I always like to do a couple extras before I switch gears and clean up. Now I need to save some room. I need to save some room for my little bee that I want to stamp, and I need to do him in black. So that's where my brayer was, my other brayer that I needed. Okay, so usually I have this full of soapy, sudsy water, and I just plop it in there when I'm done, and I can move on to my next thing and not worry about it. I'm just gonna give them some spritz with water and they'll be just fine. This is a water-based ink. You just don't want to let it set forever because then it will be harder to clean up. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to switch gears and go with my bee. I need to do a bee stamp. So here's my bee stamp. In our group that we have the retreats in Texas, the paid group is called Kara's Color Me Creative, and our last retreat was so much fun. Kara brought in a beekeeper because we call ourselves the Bee Sisters, and because we learned about how bees help one another, they take care of one another. They're actually a very female group or tribe and community that really take care of each other. And so this beekeeper came in. I thought I knew everything there was to know about bees, because my last couple years of teaching elementary school, I helped start an agricultural charter school for elementary students. And we taught all the state standards, but our focus was integrating agriculture, which, I'm a farmer, my husband's an orange and lemon farmer, so it was a lot of fun. And I taught so much about bees. I actually presented at the state education conference, and my topic or my presentation was on bees and our native bees and all kinds of art projects you could do with your students to teach them about how important native bees are to our world, to our planet, to our communities. So I thought I knew everything there was to know about bees, but from the beekeeper just telling us the nitty-gritty of what goes on, and the hives and all the things they do to keep the bees now, which is much different. Honeybees are much different than native bees, because native bees, they make their homes in the native plants. That's why it's so important to have native plants. Anyway, I thought I knew everything there was to know about bees, but I did not. I learned so much. So I'm going to put a little bee. I've always really loved bees. I've always known their importance. And it's just fun that Kara, she calls all the groups of ladies that are all involved in her retreats. We're the Bee Sisters. So check it out. And if you've never been to a workshop by yourself, don't worry. We are very kind and caring. We leave, I think the thing I love most about it, we leave politics behind. We leave religion behind. We are about sisterhood and creating and building our positive energy with our art and our creation, so it's really uplifting. We have women from all over the country, from Florida, from Georgia, from Texas, of course. There's a whole group of us that go from California. We call ourselves the Cali Girls, so check it out. I will be the presenter in October, and it'd be lovely if we could get some new people in there. Okay. Now I'm just putting something in. Usually I would just let this dry. I actually don't really need to heat set it, but because it can be flowy, it can be, I'm going for a a watercolor look. So I did my screen printing and got out my screen prints, which was, oh my gosh. That's exactly what I needed to do today. Just something new, something different. Even though I have, you know, a lot of unfinished projects, sometimes I just need to get those ideas out of my head and into reality. So here's a couple things I screen printed. I screen printed a series of panels, some t-shirts, some on fabric, some on denim, and then I thought it'd be really fun to use them with this stencil I have, which is Sacred Hearts. So I'll do some kind of little jacket or t-shirt with those, with the Batik paints too. So I'm going to show you these new Batik paints. I ordered some and then I fell in love with them and wanted to order more and could not find any anywhere. So I went ahead and I just bought out one of the retailers I retail for. I bought her out of her the rest of her Batik paints because I didn't ever want to be out of them. I love them so much. So I do have some available on my website. I sell them as a set. And so she gave me a deal. I pass on a little bit of a deal to, because I'm only selling these in sets. So this one is almost out. I have made dozens and dozens of art panels and shirts and jackets and let's see, let me show you an example. One of my latest things, oh, I stamped and painted this butterfly, and it was over on some of the bleached out plaid that I have here, and then it's what I've been using, oh, on my new fabric collages. This is all the Batik paint, the vase I made with stencils, and then with the Batik paint, and then hand painted even more with the Batik paint, filled in this little stamped bird. This is another IOD bird that I painted with the Batik paints. And I think one of the reasons I love them, oh, this stamp is called Heavenly by IOD, and I stamped that with the blue ink. I'm not quite done with this shirt yet, but this is a refashion of a refashion. I stamped it with the blue, and then I painted, did some coloring with the Batik paints, and you'll see, you still see that blue ink from the screen printing ink. And what I love about it, it penetrates. It's very watery. It's like an acrylic, but I was still able to do kind of like a dry brushing kind of thing. And then heat setting, it's permanent. So they are Batik paints. You can also use them for fun batiking. But I'll be having all kinds of videos while I'm doing my share mode. This is what I did in Kara's group last night. So I stamped and painted my jeans. So here's just another example using an IOD stamp of how you can roll on the screen printing ink. I stamped it. I had bleached the jeans where I wanted to stamp first, stamped it, painted it with some other paints, and then did some applique with another raised stamp. So you see it's very textural. And then I cut away and put a darker denim underneath. So let's see, are there any other stamps I used? Oh yes, I used the letter, the IOD, this is the retro stamp. I stamped it with the screen printing inks on fabrics and then appliqued it onto the jeans. This I did a little recently. I had this vision in my head to do this, so then I went ahead and carved a little peace sign, and I did it in the same size so I could replace the O. So those are just other ways you can use this concept of stamping with the screen printing inks. Okay, so I'm going to put in some red, some pink. Let's get this going. Maybe a little orange. I love red, pink, oranges together. And again, well, maybe you weren't here at the beginning. I will be over dyeing this entire shirt. So I'm going to be painting it, embellishing it, and just like the shirt I'm wearing, here. I'll show you another example of an over dye, what I'm talking about. So this Frida shirt, once I refashioned this shirt, I over dyed the entire thing, and it just kind of blends all the colors together. It softens them. This Frida panel, I have all kinds of panels that I'm loading into my website because I have so many from my refashioning, it's time to share some of them. But she was over dyed along with it, so she was very bright and intense. What it did, it just softened everything and made everything blend together. So this is what I'm going to do with this t-shirt. May look a little harsh or a little bold, and if that's your style, go for it. I like that too. I'm very bold with my colors. Okay, I have this watercolor brush. I just like a big rounded brush. I'm going to dip it in, and since I want a watercolory look, I'm not going for a detail look like the stamp, the Heavenly stamp I showed you. I'm just going to start brushing very loosely. And so what this does, the stamp, the screen printing ink is actually a resist of the paint. Sometimes if I have a little bit of a thicker fabric, this is a thin cotton knit. If I have a really thicker cotton knit, I might turn it inside out and paint from the background, from the back side, especially if I want the lines to remain super crisp. But again, that's another reason I love this Batik paint. Keep going on about it. Because you can still, it's translucent, and you can see that stamped image that you've created. Now see, I've already gotten it over here because I'm messy, but that's okay because I am going to be splattering this. You see I already got paint everywhere because that's how I go. So now I'm going to put in some red. Yep, that was the orange. And I want to leave some of the white as well. So I don't want to cover up every single bit because I want the white to show through as well. But I can always go back at the end after I'm done. I can go back, and I just squirt out a little bit at a time. I can go back with a white acrylic. This set does not come with white acrylic because, you know, that's a translucent type of thing. It has almost every color, even black. But it does have this medium. It's called medium. So when I want to lighten up a color, let's say I wanted to make pink, I could use the red. I could get some white, just basic white acrylic, and I could mix this Batik paint with acrylic paint. It plays really nicely together. And then I would add some of this medium just to make sure it's all melding and lightening out. Now that it's suggested if you want lighter colors using this, but I either usually just use a water or the medium. Okay, now I'm gonna throw in some orange just because I love bright and happy. I'm gonna do the same thing with and I've got my thin mount, a plastic sheet under this, so it's not going to go to the back. But if it does, it's okay because I'm going to splatter it anyway. So now at the same time, I want to do this. I'm going to paint out these, the appliques that I'm going to sew on top. You could totally do a piece without appliques. But if you do like that look of layered, it's kind of like furniture for me. I love the layered look. You could sew these by hand or machine. If you were sewing them by hand, I would probably use like I would first iron them on like a double-sided adhesive. My favorite is Steam-A-Seam Light 2. Steam-A-Seam Light 2. I don't know what the 2 means, but that's the one I usually use. And you could iron them onto the, just follow the directions, and then you can actually iron these to your garment, whether you're doing it on the cotton knit or if you're doing it on denim. And then it just gives extra security if you're not sewing by machine. What I usually do is I'll do a little bit of machine and a little bit by hand too, because I love the texture I get from hand sewing. Okay, I'm gonna leave those for now, and let's go on to the bee. Now he came out a little light. When I do him on a cotton, a woven cotton, he comes out a little bit more crisp. So every fabric is different. I'll show you what he looks like on the cotton print. So see how clear he is. But that's okay, because I'm going to paint him, and then I'm going to give him some little stitches as well. So he'll have lots of character. And again, this looks really bright, but I am going to be over dyeing it. Something else we'll do at the retreat, we're going to be over dyeing. I gotta like schedule everything very carefully so everybody has an opportunity to try everything they want to try. I think I'm going to mix a little of the brown and a little of the yellow. And the retreats are also very casual. So if there's a session and you're like, I'm overwhelmed, I don't want to do that, you can take off. There are so many cute places in downtown McKinney, Texas. Restaurants, bars, boutiques. I love to go into all the shops just to get inspiration for my upcycling. There's so many cute ideas. That's usually what I do in my free time if I'm not having a session. Now that's a little bright, but again, remember I'm over dyeing it. So if you weren't over dyeing it, you might just like mix in, a little bit of the brown. So if you look at bees, they're not really black and white. They've got beautiful shades and tones of browns and golden and so this is watery, so it will spread, but this t-shirt is very absorbent. It's not spreading too much. Okay. I think I might give the wings just the slightest. Ooh, it looks like I'm cutting out a little bit. I'm wondering. Let me see. Oh, I see more comments. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for ordering from Reedley. Yes, my neighbor. And I see my screen cutting out, so I don't know if it's my internet. I hope it's not happening on your end. So I'm really going to spray these wings. I just want the softest blue. Yeah, my screen keeps flashing green, so that might be my internet. And maybe the delay is fixing it. I'm not sure. So I just want a little bit, and I'm going to go around, I think, with just a little bit of the blue. Again, remember, this is going to be an applique. Okay, now let's do some leaves. And then I'll talk about how I'm going to finish this up. So for my leaves, I could have stamped, but I felt like I wanted to paint them. And then I could take a Posca pen to do some very loose outlining of the leaves when I heat set them, when they're dry and heat set. Or I could actually do a very loose leaf and stamp over that. And I'm not going to go with the traditional leaf color. I'm just going to kind of go freestyle with my turquoise here. Just because I want to pick some happy colors. I'm trying to remember what rose leaves look like. So this will be on YouTube. Last week's I did this, I was working on patching some painted overalls I had done, but I haven't gotten the YouTube done, the edited version, because I've been having so much fun creating this week. So again, you see how quickly those leaves went on there. Now I'm going to take some yellow. Let's add some bright yellow into this. See what happens with the color. Again, I've just got a round brush, so I think I'll do half of the leaf in the yellow. You can see I did leave some of the light showing through, so I really see that in the eyes and out like this. So again, I could get a leaf shape and stamp it on there when it's dry, but I think what I'll do is just either get a Posca pen, but I think what I like even more is just outlining with some acrylic paint. I'll mix it with some water because I'm outlining with it and I want it to flow easily. And then I'll mix some textile medium. So the textile medium I mix with my acrylics is GAC 900. So it's GAC, it's for fabric to mix in with the acrylics. It helps it, I know a lot of people paint without the textile medium, but I've always done it that way since the 90s, since I've been painting with acrylic paints. It helps it penetrate the fabric, so when I paint with acrylics, I just mist, soften up, loosen up the fibers with misting it, mix my acrylics with this, and then if I'm outlining, mix it with water until my brush just kind of like, flows easily. So again, I will heat set this, let it dry, heat set it, apply the appliques. I could even, if you have your IOD letter stamps, you could even, put together a letter, a word, an inspirational word, and roll on that screen printing ink. Then I've got my little appliques here. Oh, maybe I should do some leaves for the applique. Let's do that too. And I think I'll add a little bit of the leaf color around the bee. That makes sense. So just kind of do this. He'll be cut out, but I'll give him some depth. Now usually what I would do is I would heat set each layer before I add the next one. And here's what I do too. When this dries and you heat set it, if you're like, ooh, I wanted it a little more intense, you can layer these. So you can go back with the color and just layer right on top. And again, remember, you can add acrylics over the top of it, mixing in that textile medium with water if you wanted to do outlining with that. So I'm going to give him a little more water and hope those wings, they'll get a little bit of that action, but I don't want them to be totally saturated with the paint because I want them to look a little see-through. And I can move this around just a little bit, push it around. I usually work with wovens, with cottons are my favorite, but once in a while I get out my knits and go for it. Okay, so oh yeah, painting a couple leaves before I'm done. I can use these as appliques over the top and just layer it. trying to think. Usually I don't grow roses. I live in this really hot farm valley, and I'm inside most of the time. My husband's the one that gets out and farms. I'm retired, so I have my little happy creative business, and I don't grow roses. So usually if I'm painting a plant, if I'm painting flora, I always take a look at the structure of the venations and the arrangement of the leaves. But what I can do, since these are so loose and large, before I do my outlining, I will definitely take a look in case I need to add anything like serrated edges or whatever I need to add. I can do that with my outlining. And I like to keep things really painterly, which is why it's fun to use those painterly roses. Okay, so I've got my t-shirt, got my appliques ready. I love that this t-shirt already came with this base, this ruffle. It's got a ruffled sleeve, but I'm gonna add, let's see, where's my lace? I'll probably add some laces, trim that edge, make that raw edge. I already made the sleeves raw edge. I usually make the hem raw edge just by snipping that hem but leaving the seam, and it just curls it up a little bit, gives it that vintagey look. I might do something like, you know, this around here, and so when it's over dyed, this is cotton, so it's all gonna be just nicely blended together. So I will post pictures of that. I might even do a little bit of decolorant. Maybe I'll show you that next time. And you can see I've got some things going on because I had some bleed through. So I can always, that's where I can put an applique and a leaf, and just keep going on the back a little bit. Just give it some little highlights. I can also take this ink and just, you know, kind of splatter it around too if I feel like it. I usually do that because I make such a mess. And it is, I'm in a very confined little place here. So that's where I'm going to start. You can see how intense you can get with these inks. And then there's also browns and the black that you can soften it up and make any kind of mixed paints with these, pretty much any color you want. And if you bring in the white acrylic, then you've got a whole palette to work with. Now I think that was all I was going to show you for this week. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for being here. I hope everybody has a great evening. I hope you find time to create. Now that I did a live last night, I did a live today, tomorrow, and I created all day. I'm doing my screen printed panels. Now tomorrow, it's time to get everything picked up, cleaned up, and ready for my next project. I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye-bye.